All right, check, check,
Okay.
check. Y'all tuned in to another episode of Leading Be Legendary presents the Label Podcast. I'm your host, Nametag Alexander. Y'all can hear this podcast on all platforms where you can stream or download podcasts. That's including but not limited to Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM, Google Podcasts for the Android users, of course. We got Stitcher, we got SoundCloud. Make sure y'all check out the website, leadingbylegendary.net, and also join the email list. I'm not going to always post on social media right away once certain stuff's dropped. That's exclusive for the most part with Leading Be Legendary. Check out my latest single, Soul Speak. Pretty introspective. Y'all know I don't get in that bag too often. Features Paris Shanae on there. I want to say she's Florida-based. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say I'm right. Shout out to Chef K. Dot on the track with that. That's available on all platforms to stream and or download music if you're still doing that. I got new music coming soon and also a new pod coming, Conquer the Spectrum. We're going to get into that pretty much a little bit later down the line. I ain't going to spill too much on it, but I do got an episode speaking toward that. We're gonna get right into it. Not gonna hold up too much of y'all time. I want to introduce my guest, a songwriter, also a music producer, goddamn, live event planner, a teacher as well. One of the we gonna put him out there and say one of the founding members of the Black Pack. Shout out to the whole Black Pack family out there. We got James Gardin on the line, y'all. What's going on with you, man?
What's up, man? What's up?
So you
Happy to be here.
you posted this and I'm glad to have you on, man. It's been long overdue. I was like, I gotta get you on the show because a lot of your way of thinking when it comes to music is pretty much almost like that of mine. It's like it's very in today's time, not as traditional as we see most artists that are independent, if you get what I'm saying, right?
Right.
You made this post, well, you retweeted something I saw earlier today, and I said I'm gonna ask him about that. Because I thought, I'm not going to say it was like deep. It was pretty surface, but I wanted to know your, like, if you could speak in depth on what this tweet said. It said, your gift has a purpose. If you're not serving it, it will definitely feel like a curse. Speaking.
Oh, yeah. I think that was,
But
that was the homie Noah James.
Yeah. Yep.
Tweeted it. Yeah. So, like, the reason that, like, made me think about it, though, is, like, if you're not using it, it's kind of like there's also, I want to say in The Alchemist, it said like it's something like every blessing that's not like saying becomes a curse. But I think like when you don't use it, then you could easily get mad that no opportunities are coming. You can easily get mad that like you didn't do with it what you should have done with it. So then it becomes a curse because it becomes this thing that's like always chasing you.
Yeah.
Because you didn't use it. Like, you still feel it's there, and then you continue to think it had an expiration date, so you're living in an existence of, like, what if. And
exactly.
then that becomes, like, you can't live comfortably like that.
Exactly.
You have to use it as much as you can.
Because there's this is one quote from Les Brown on his, there's, like, this archive podcast on the Apple Podcast platform, and he speaks to that, where he's basically saying, like, he says you can't pretty much not live out your dream or like the talent that you were blessed with for the most part, right? He says
right.
We all have a gift, you know what I mean? And we all gotta maximize that gift to its fullest potential. But he used this, I forget where he heard the quote from, but he basically was saying it and it was so dope. He was like, imagine being on your deathbed and instead of being surrounded on your dying day by like friends and family, you know what I'm saying, just standing over the bed or whatever, like just being there with you. He
right.
said, imagine instead of family and friends being over you, it's all of the dreams that you never fulfilled or even attempted to fulfill. And they looking at you like, why? Like, we can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, we came to you. You know what I'm saying? And you didn't even attempt to fulfill nothing. And now nobody else is going to fulfill us because we were specific to you. So now we just got to die with you. Like,
it reminds me when Mom told me a story about her stepdad. So one day she just heard him singing, and then she said like he had a beautiful voice. And she was just like, why don't you sing at church? And like at that point he stopped going to church, started drinking, and homie was straight up like, I've been running from God for like the last 20 years.
Damn.
And like, he felt that like he had a call to sing, but he ran from it. I don't know if it intimidated him, but like, he ended up, like, I bet when he passed, like, rest in peace, but I bet like he thought about that. Like, that's probably the things that went through his head on his deathbed, is like all those things that like were made specifically for him. He didn't do it. And she told me that story, and that just, I was like, yeah, I never want that.
Can't go out like that. That's a lot to harbor.
There's a gift in me I didn't use, you know?
Yeah, that's a lot to harbor, man. I couldn't imagine that. Like, if you notice, like, if you go moments or like, not even moments, that's too close. I ain't even say moments, but if you were to go like damn, every moment I need to create. But if you go like days without creating, or like writing some rhymes or doing anything related to your gift, like, you gonna feel it. It's just in us. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I can't put it off and be like, man, I just needed like a month off. It's like, nah, it don't work that way. It's in us. You know what I'm saying? You started out, from what I remember, as Filthy, right?
Yeah.
So speak to that. Like, the difference between Filthy versus James. Like, break down this transformation. Like, when did that come about?
All right. So like, high school is when I started rapping. That's when I went by the name Filthy. I was Filthy for a good, like, a nice amount of years. It wasn't like, it was maybe like 6, 7 years. No, it was more than that. I can't count. Maybe it might have been a good 10 years that I was Filthy. I think what part of what it was is that, like, I was like, yo, I'm older. Like, I'm in my 30s. And so, one, I had a couple opportunities where basically I was going to have a song in all these stores, and then the store was like, we don't think Filthy is a family-friendly name. And so, like, I was losing opportunities because of the name. The other part was that there's a rapper named Filthy Rich, and it's spelled the same way. And so when you Google Filthy, he's like the first 7 pages.
Yeah.
And so the business standpoint, it just wasn't smart. And then, like, for me, like, I wanted to be able to do different stuff, but like still keep it under the same umbrella. And so I'm like, if I want to go speak, sometimes like people will shy away from having someone named Filthy come speak to a group of kids, but
right.
they'll book James Gardin. And so I just wanted to open up more opportunities for myself when I knew my name was a better access point.
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that. That's something that I went through, just even adding my government to my, my regular stage name. Like, if you literally go online and Google like Nametag, it's not going to be anything music related popping up. You're going to get everything that's related to a name tag plate for the most part, or a name tag sticker. And now if you Google Nametag Alexander, I pop up. Like, it's just that is what it is. And it's more, for one, better for search engine optimization. Two, like you said, it's better just as far as like from a marketing standpoint, just branding. You know what I mean? Like with name tag, you detach Alexander from that, and you just off top, it's like, oh, that's probably some rap shit. And not saying that we want to detach ourselves from the rap, but like you said, you want to be able to branch out and be able to, like, you know what I'm saying, like market. Like, I have another podcast where I'm coming, and I'm kind of like, dang, do I want to like even put it under there as name tag Alexander, or just flat out Alex Robinson? You know what I'm saying? The government. But even if I went with name tag Alexander, it's nothing that you gonna just look at and be like, I don't know. Like how you say, you just imagine giving a motivational speech to a bunch of kids and they introducing you as Filthy. Like, yeah, it's dope. It worked in the hip hop lane, but at the same time, outside of that, it's like it's only so far it can stretch. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was dope, because I remember paying it. I knew, I know what he doing. Like, immediately I was like, I get it. I understood. You're self-producing your next project. Speak about that.
Yeah.
How long have you been producing?
Say it again.
How long have you been producing?
Secretly or publicly?
Well, publicly, because it's always been there. You know what I'm saying? Like, as an artist, I can bet it's always been there. But like publicly, how long has that been?
So like, honestly, it's weird. Like, so for the last like 5 years, I worked at a summer camp, and the first year I worked there, I get the job, and they're like, all right, you have to write and produce an album with the campers. And so I'm like, oh shoot, I've never really produced an album or like done that much production. And so at that point, I really had to like let it out because when the campers got there, they couldn't produce. They were like, we don't know how to use the software. So I was like, I guess I got to figure this out.
Yeah.
So I would say at that point, that's when I started like playing around with production. Maybe for the most part, the last like 4 or 5 years, I've been doing it like publicly. And for a while, I was still like, I think I'm blessed and cursed with having a lot of really good producers around me. And so I fell into comparing myself to them. And so I would be like, I can't call myself a producer. I don't make stuff like that, or I don't make stuff like that. So then I would like be like, I'm not a real producer, but I'm still like making like a bunch of beats and just making stuff, but not sharing it. I ended up like producing a record for a friend, and the friend was JP Reynolds out of Harlem, New York.
Word.
The record did pretty well. I was like, oh, that's cool. But I think I was still like timid about putting out anything, like rapping over anything I made. And then like the last year, I've just really been like, no, I think it's teaching at high schools. And so I was teaching an Emcee class, and we had a bunch of kids that were learning production. And I just noticed how, as they were learning, how they were talking about themselves. And I was like, yo, I need to like be a better example. Cause I would joke around and be like, yeah, I'm the fakest producer you ever know. So then they would be like, yeah, you know, I kind of produce. I'm not a good producer though. Or like, yeah, I'm rapping, but I'm not really a rapper. I'm horrible. And I'm like, yo, like I'm being a horrible example because what I'm calling a joke is actually like modeling negative self-talk to them, and then they'll never be what they can't say they are. And so I was like, nah, I'm messing with you. I'm a producer. And then like last year I entered a beat battle and like made it to the semifinals.
Oh shit.
Honestly, if I would have made it to the finals, I didn't make enough beats because they started making us do 3 a round. I was like, listen, I only have 4 rounds.
Hey, I only made enough to make it to the semifinals. I didn't know about this part.
Enough. I asked you for a number, and that's how many I made. But so like, and then I thought I was like, and at that point, that was like publicly, like people came to the beat battle and were like, wait, James is in a beat battle? Like you're a rapper, you don't make beats. And so that was the first time a lot of people heard my stuff. And then so one of my friends, Neek out of Chicago, he was like,
shout out to him. Yeah,
because you're an MC first and you produce second, you won't feel like a real producer until you produce your own record. So I was like, I'm gonna take that as a challenge, and so yeah, I'm producing my next record.
Dope, man. Very, very, very dope. I don't have the patience for it, so I don't see myself like I don't see myself now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Oh man, that's great though. Like I see, cause you post the snippets and everything. You're just like, yo, this is one that I did, and you'll put like the video clips behind it. I say, yo, he's really going at it. Like this is what's up. You know what I'm saying? Cause you just extended your career even more. You know what I'm saying?
Really, it opens up so many doors.
Now you were from what I recall last year recently on an independent label. What was it, Elect?
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. Now
Elect Recording.
Now that that's no longer, because I recall you saying that you're no longer on the label. Speak about
correct
actually being independent versus being on the indie label. Because the way I see it, we would always say like if someone was on an independent label that meant they were independent. And it's like yeah and no. So now that you're in that space to where you've experienced both, like compare the two. Like what do you prefer, if you get what I'm saying?
So I think my situation was weird because I think like the benefits of being so there's some benefits that are like surface level and some benefits that are actual benefits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the benefits was like being able to tell people I'm signed, right? So that in an email gave people a sense of validation or security of some sort. And I'm pretty sure I got some more looks because like they were emailing people instead of me, right? So that representation, I definitely see the value in that. They definitely were able to open doors for the sync licensing world. But I think what they did more than that is they opened my eyes to that I can make records that will succeed in that world.
Yep.
So
I agree.
And I can figure out how to build those relationships on my own.
Yep. 100%.
I would say the biggest thing that they probably did for me that like it's a challenge to do by myself is really good PR. And I think I'm like, those who follow me on Twitter, I'm the typo king. So it's like I have to like slow down and have way more patience if I'm gonna email out to like 30 blogs and radio stations every time I drop a single. And then if I'm gonna pitch to Spotify playlists and YouTube curators, like I just have to take my time with that. And I noticed that it does take a lot of time, and I know they put a lot of time into doing it. So I mean, like as an indie artist, I think it's more work for me. If I'm honest, I think the way that a lot of indie labels split the money, I don't know if I could justify it equating to the work that they do. Yeah. It is hard work, but I can't say it's harder work than creating and writing and making the actual art. And so like, cause for me, it was split down the middle, right? And I can be okay with things being split down the middle if I feel like work is down the middle.
Right.
And I think they work their tail off, but it's just for me, I'm like, I don't know if this is a down the middle type of work situation, if that makes sense.
So when it came to the algorithms, that's a common word this year. We've heard a lot as far as, just social media and streaming services. Do you feel as though you were being placed, like your music was being placed properly in the midst of those algorithms as far as artists who were like similar? So take you and an artist you feel or most people will feel that's similar to you. Do you feel as though they exceeded your expectations with that as far as, okay, I'm in good company when people are listening to this, let's say it more popular artist music, and they come across minds as well? Did they do great with that? Or was it just like, man, I could have did this myself for the most part?
So in the beginning, I think the label had a good handle of, they were able to let our distributor know that a record was coming out, and our distributor was actually meeting with Spotify, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a plus. But I think the push to drop singles like aggressively when I hopped on the label was my idea. So they were more like, let's sit back and work on the album.
I thought that was so dope.
I was looking at the numbers. Huh?
I thought, and not to interrupt, but I thought that was so dope that you was doing that. I didn't know if it was you or the label, but I said, he figuring it out. Like, I think he get it. Like, you know what I'm saying? In the landscape that we're in right now, streaming out, like, he get it. You know what I'm saying? But what you were saying with the label, they wanted to push more so the album?
Yeah, but because I think, like, I think they did well enough on albums, but I saw everything changing. I mean, we saw a bunch of artists blow up with just singles. And what else I looked at was, like, I looked at my numbers compared to the people on the label, and I was like, everyone has bigger numbers than me because their audience is already bigger. So I was like, I'm a new artist because I just got signed. So I was like, let's grow these singles. And I was like, and then at that point, I'm like, I read probably too many articles and watch too many videos. And basically, I'll watch a bunch of videos about the same topic, and then I'll be like, all right, you guys are saying all three of you said this same thing, so that's probably true. There's a difference in opinion on this, so I'll just try out both and see what works. And so once Spotify started doing the editorial like submission thing, it switched from them actually having meetings with Spotify. So at that point, we were at mercy to the algorithm and how well your pitch is in that upcoming section. What I also started doing is I told them, and people can take this is free game. I told them that we need to start pitching to Spotify curators, right?
Yep.
And at first it's like, how do you find them? And it's like, one, if you go on LinkedIn and just Google Spotify curators, you can find a bunch of them people. But what we started also looking at was that most YouTube curators, because this is when YouTube Music was about to happen, most YouTube curators have Spotify accounts too. So we started pitching the YouTube channels because we knew they would throw it on Spotify. And that was like, a lot of that was my idea. I was like, we need to do this. We need to do this. I was like, the blogs are good because what I'm realizing is I didn't give the blogs the love they deserve, but the blogs are good. And that's why it was good to have that PR, because you can pitch, when you're like pitching to the editorial people to like get considered for a playlist, you can tell them all the blogs you've been on and what you plan to push to.
Dope.
And then that lets them know, like, okay, well, this is going to get a good push. Let's put it on this playlist because it's going to get a lot of plays.
Dope. Very dope.
But I think when I started telling, because if you look now, like, and I'm happy for everyone that's on Elect, like, it's all love, and like, I have a bunch of homies that are still on the label. But if you look now, a lot of the producers numbers are going crazy because they're getting on a bunch of like lo-fi, chill, hip hop beat playlists.
Those playlists, I keep seeing them a lot.
Like a lot of singles, the single might not have a whole bunch of plays, but the instrumental will have a bunch of them because they're pitching the instrumental to those playlists. And so a lot of that was done, but a lot of that was me being like, yeah, no, we need to push the singles. We need to hit a playlist. We need to dominate this because this is where stuff's moving.
Landscape has changed, man.
Landscape has definitely so quick changed. Too.
Yeah, because people are like, we still, let's get an album. Because to me, I feel like it's just a thing to say. You know what I'm saying? It's like when I look at it, I be like, I mean, depending on the artist, I'm okay with an EP, man. I'm okay with like 5-6 songs. Like we talked about this earlier on Twitter. Like I'm okay with a few joints. Like I don't need 12. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays people still be dropping joints with 18 tracks. It's like, nah. I mean, with so much content out there for us to take in, like I'm cool with like 5 tracks. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. You know what I'm saying? If it's dope enough, we're gonna play it again.
Cause it gets consumed so quick.
Yeah.
They're like, I watch people drop albums, and like it saddens me because like, that was a great body of work, but within 2 weeks,
literally 2 weeks,
if you're lucky, no one's talking about it.
Yep.
They're on to the next album within a week because so much stuff. I forget the number. The number is crazy of how many songs get like uploaded each day. Like, so by that next week, there's so much to consume. So you either have to, I think it's like singles, small projects, and figure out content that you can make outside of it that they can consume like at a long-term pace. So I think like you having a podcast is so smart because like if someone's vibing to the music, they can check out the records and then they can listen to podcasts. And then what probably ends up happening is like, oh, I really like this guy. And so then what are they going to do?
Now they bought into you.
Some of his music.
Yep. They done bought into you as a brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Times is so interesting, man. Because the crazy thing is, I asked you about the indie versus the being actually independent. That was like the next transition. It led right into the performance of singles versus releasing a body of work. With the streaming landscape, how do you feel like with the payout? We know the payout is shitty, right? So
yeah, it's bad.
How do you feel as far as, I don't even want to say the pros and cons because the payout is so bad. Like I talked about this on the episode earlier. I called it 20,000. It was 20,000 and I called it. So we know the payout is terrible, right? So what would you tell, being that you have this experience of, both you and I, like, we've been involved with independent labels before, and we're still doing the independent grind. What would you tell an up-and-coming artist or upcoming artist as far as how to handle the landscape of streaming today? Because a lot of people think, I get out here, I put out the music, I saw this major label artist get a lot of streams, and I'm just assuming they're eating. What do you tell that upcoming artist? How do you kind of, I don't want to say give them advice because it's going to work different for the next person than it might for me or you. So like, what do you tell them as far as just to kind of give them that inspiration? Like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like you just dropped some free game on here, some gems. What do you say to them outside of that? I'm working on my next single, James. You know what I'm saying? Like, what words of wisdom do you kind of, I guess that falls under advice in a sense, but you know what I mean? Because it's so tough. Like, I hear a lot of people, new artists say, yo, I want to rap. And it's like, dog, you sure? Like, because this ain't, it ain't how they making it look on TV, man. You sure you want to do this? Like, what's your reason behind it? So what would you say to them?
Right. So I think what you're saying makes sense. Like, I think, like, you have to have a strong reason behind it. Because I think what you can end up doing is, all right, so we're looking at it, like, right now. I want to say Dame Dash said this, like, years ago, because he was talking about Rockaway. He was like talking about one of Jay-Z's albums. Like the album was a commercial for the product. So it's like that feels sort of like a bad way to look at it. But if you look at it like you have a strong why, and so you want to start putting out stuff. But it's like figure out, that the music means a lot, but it's not going to bring you the money you want from it. Figure out what the product is attached to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like someone could do something crazy where like, all right, I'm going to drop this single, right? But the single is only, it's there because you love it. The record's dope. But you're figuring out, if I drop this single, then I can introduce this conversation and start talking about this on social media more. Boom. But then maybe it leads up to an actual book, or maybe it leads up to an event, but it leads up to something else that you can do that's actually going to make you money.
Right.
Because, like, I think, like, we can, because I've seen people be like, I'm not doing this, I'm going against it. And for some people it works. I want to say, like, Marciano is the last name, I think.
Yeah,
it's a rapper
he
that
didn't put it
like
on the streaming services. He dropped.
Like, doesn't do streams.
Yeah. What was it? Rosebud's Revenge, I think. And he dropped the joint, and he was like, he's not putting it. He's gonna have it there eventually, but right now it's just like, yo, you gotta buy the product, or you gotta get it. I guess it was directly from his website or something like that, which is dope.
Yeah,
he got that following.
You gotta get it right from the site.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you got the pull to do that, by all means do it. But if you're a new artist, you don't have that equity. You don't have that fan base. You can't do that. You have to. You're not big enough to fight the machine at this point. So it's like, use the algorithm to your advantage. And I think another thing, and this is like, I'm still learning this because I'm hard at it, is that, like, once you start putting stuff out, look at what records you put out that work really well.
Yep.
And those are your singles. And so then if there's a different record you really want to do and it means a lot, then maybe that's when you do a small project and you put that on that. I honestly put out the last two singles I put out. I love them. They didn't do that well, and I think part of that is that, like, one, they're really sad.
Yeah.
And, like, I was trying to show balance, right? But I have to be smart enough to know that, like, when it comes to, like, singles that people play over and over again, they're not gonna want to play a very heavy record over and over again. To that point that they keep sharing. Like, they're not like, hey, fam, check out this song. It's going to make you really sad. It's like,
because I saw you say, like, I'm going to try the sad bop. And I was like, okay, I'm into it, but let me check it out. But I get what you're saying. You really liked it because it was more so introspective. But you was like, I'm going to do a sad bop or something like that. I said, I get where he going. But I definitely understand what you're talking about. Because, man, that's why I was like, I got to have him on the show. Because the same shit you be experiencing and talking about, I be like, I get it, man. I get it 100%.
And the thing is, a sad bop could work for someone else, right?
Yeah.
But I have to be self-aware to know what works for me. And so if I look at my numbers and I look at the records that did really, really well, they were not sad bops. So it's like,
I'll give you an example. I'll do like a track that's made for the chicks, right? And it'll be dope.
Yeah.
But every time I go check the stats, it don't matter on what platform, it don't matter. It could be Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, Bandcamp, SoundCloud. They perform the least. It don't matter how dope they are. I guarantee you, it'll say, I'll just give you an example. It'll just be like 80-20. It'll be like, my listeners are 80% male, 20% female. I'm like, yo, I just dropped. It happened with the Ella joint. It happened with Nobody's. My history shows it. It just be like, I could do like 5 of them, and it's still like it's like they just want to hear what they want to hear when it comes down to it. So it makes perfect sense. You just got to really do what works at the end of the day.
I mean, so, like, it's like any algorithm, right? The algorithm is for the user. So it's gonna, if you know that, like, when you drop out a record, when you drop a record that you're barring out, that, like, people are gonna play it quickly right when it comes out and a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Then you know that means that the algorithm is then gonna see that and then automatically be like, cool, let me put it in this playlist and see what it does. Oh, it did that too, let me throw it in there. And so it's like, you have to, I think a lot of people get mad at the algorithm because they think it hurts creatives. And in a sense it does, but it's actually just forcing you to actually, like,
grow your audience. In
a sense, have better customer service. Like, if you're Burger King, quit making pizzas. Like, make your burgers. That's what that's what people are coming to you for.
Exactly, man. Now, when is the well, I don't know if it's finished or not, but tell the people when they could, because I said I wasn't gonna have you on too long, but, like, let the people know, like, when I guess it's an EP, because I know you said like 5 tracks, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be an EP.
So it's already done. Everything is, you already got, like, the set time for it and everything, the date.
I don't. I'm like, I'm thinking March or April. Like, it's all written pretty much.
Oh, okay.
It's like 80% recorded. It's all produced.
Dope.
I just gotta like finish up, like clean up some stuff, and then get it mixed. And
Dope.
that's not gonna take long.
Now tell the people where they can find you, because I said I had to have you on. It was long overdue. We had spoke about it a few times before, but I was like, man, I know he got some gems he could share, and people going to visit this that are familiar with him. You know what I'm saying? And it need to be heard, because it's too much. Like I get it. I see it on social media. I see it on Twitter, but I was like, nah, man, it got to be heard. Like people got to hear it verbally. It got to be spoken for them to really grasp it, because I got it, but I was like, nah, the people got to hear it. Let them know where they can find you at on social media or on the website too, if you got it.
All right, so it's James Gardin, Gardin. That's Twitter. Facebook is James Gardin. Instagram is James Gardin Music, because someone owns James Gardin. And then website is jamesgardin.com. And you can get all the merch at supercleanmerch.bigcartel.com.
Nice, fresh. And when you said March, April, for the most part, for the EP.
Yeah, March, April, but I'm about to. There's gonna be a lot of singles, so like,
let's get it, man.
People are gonna get like 3 singles in January, and then we're gonna hit you in February too.
I'm inspired, man. Let's get it. You see what I'm doing out here, so I'm with it, man.
Hey, I'm excited. Let's spread this music out,
man, for sure. I appreciate you coming on, man. It was necessary for sure.
Thank you for having me on.
No doubt, man. I'm gonna let you know when I'm dropping it.